The information shared on this program is for general informational purposes only. It is not intended as legal, tax, investment, or other professional advice, nor as a recommendation of any specific investment product or financial instrument. Always consult your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant regarding your own situation. All client reviews or spotlight segments are unpaid testimonials from current clients of Tony Walker Financial. Individual experiences will vary, are not representative of all clients, and are not a guarantee of future results or success.
Do you have a stated mission in life? You don't? Well, guess what? We do.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money. The Worry-Free Retirement with your host, six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Many people in life come to me at Tony Walker Financial in hopes that we can provide some sort of game plan for retirement. And what I find is in our first interview, a lot of people really don't have a stated mission in life. In other words, why did you work so hard for this money? What do you want the money to do for you? And how and when are you going to deploy this money before it's too late? So without that mission statement, it's very difficult sometimes to quantify and qualify what it is we're supposed to help you do, which is where we come in at Tony Walker Financial. So stay tuned as we talk about our mission of helping more and more savers worry less about money. Wondering how much money you'll need for retirement? Well, that's where we can help at Tony Walker Financial. As retirement planning experts, we're a one-stop shop for savers who are looking to retire worry-free. So if you don't have a proprietary game plan in your possession, if you're not sure who to trust with your money, consult us at Tony Walker Financial and set up that free phone call with me, Tony Walker, by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call us anytime at 877-499-9255.
Looking for retirement guidance from a local team you can trust? Subscribe to the Tony Walker Financial YouTube channel for fresh weekly videos focused on the topics that matter most to savers and retirees. Once subscribed, click the bell so you're notified whenever new videos are uploaded. Then head to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to submit your own questions to Tony or schedule your free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with Tony himself. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, your local trusted resource for retirement planning.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're talking a lot about the mission statement of Tony Walker Financial, which is basically, and it's trademarked, helping more and more savers worry less about money. And with that mission comes a buy-in, if you will, from the staff here at Tony Walker Financial. Much of this stuff that I've dreamed up over the years could have never been fulfilled without the staff buying into the notion of let's help more and more savers and buying into the mission statement. And someone who's done a great job of that buy-in and continually helping more and more savers is our own Trey Juergens, favorite son-in-law here in the Louisville office. Good morning, Trey.
Yeah, good morning.
So, we were even talking this morning in our marketing meeting. We have several people that meet every week, once a week, just to talk about things we want to do marketing. And I think the idea, one of the newer folks was on board, said, well, what is your all's mission statement? I don't even know that. And I said, well, it's helping more and more savers worry less about money. And he said, well, don't you usually have a mission statement longer than that? And my thoughts on that are, well, maybe, but tell the audience how you feel that mission statement is very powerful and how it really does drive everything we do here at Tony Walker Financial.
Well, it's exactly what a mission statement should be. It speaks to who you're serving and what you're helping them do, and it really summarizes it pretty simply.
Yeah, and I think, we came up with this concept of the three personalities of money. In fact, I always say there's savers, investors, and speculators. A saver is defined as somebody who's more concerned about the return of their money than on it. And just yesterday in our Louisville office, I had a gentleman and he had a lot of money. But the more I talked to him, I said, sir, I think you might be an investor. And he looked at me so funny. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't know if you're ready for our services. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, you're analytical. You're doing a lot of this on your own. You don't really want an advisor. I don't think you feel like you can trust an advisor. I said, really, why are you here? After diving into that, I think why he was here, and we finally got to that, I think he's worried about his spouse. His spouse, and we run into this some, his spouse has no idea what in the world is going on. And so I just asked him, I said, so sir, who would your spouse go to if you died today? He said, I don't know. So speak to how we are there, not just for the investors, But some of those investors out there who are getting up in years, and they know that their partner is not an investor, and they need to rely on somebody they can trust when that spouse eventually passes away or doesn't feel like doing it anymore.
Yeah, it's not atypical of one spouse to be the one that kind of handles the finances, and we see that a lot. However, as you get a little older in retirement, you might not want to keep up with all this, and you definitely don't want to leave your spouse who hasn't been keeping up with this at all with a mess. And I think by getting a game plan, having a local advisor that they could go speak to should something happen to the spouse that does keep up with things, that kind of sets them at ease knowing that they're going to be in good hands.
You know, years ago, Trey, I love this kind of discussion. And some of it, people might say, well, it sounds kind of like hogwash or you're just talking off the top of your head. I've studied under a lot of great minds. I drug out a book by Brian Tracy. I used to go out to San Diego back around 2001, 2002 and go out there and study under him. But in his book, one of the things, the quotes I love, and I think we've done a good job of this, but he says, decide what it is you love to do, then throw your whole life into that in order to be successful. So what if we had not really focused on these savers? How scattered would we be? I mean, we got 4,000 clients. Can you imagine if we had in this mixture of 4,000 clients, savers, investors, speculators? I mean, we would be all over the place. I don't think we could have a process to serve all those people, could we?
No, and you said exactly the word process is what you've developed here, is a process of helping these savers worry less about money. And by understanding exactly what they're looking for and building these game plans around what we find out in that first appointment, we can really hone in and focus on who we're looking to help, which are savers.
Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number at 877-499-9255. Hey folks, Tony Walker with a quick hitter here. You know, we get questions all the time about retirement, and we're happy to answer those. Some people go to the website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Some people simply call us. That number's 877-499-9255. But here's a newbie. I love this. If you have a question for me, Tony Walker, why don't you just text it to me? Let me give you that number right now. The text number for questions for Tony is 502-429-3416. Let me repeat that. Text Tony your question on retirement, whether you're retired or nearing retirement, 502-429-3416. We're talking about our mission here at Tony Walker Financial, and that is helping more and more savers worry less about money. Nowhere else was this mission cemented in the hearts and minds of Tony Walker and the people I serve. If we roll back the clock a little bit and go back to the year 2000. Now, a lot of people remember 2001, obviously the tragedy of 9/11, but what a lot of people forget is in the year 2000, and this was when I was managing money back then very heavily, the market during the 90s had done great. I mean, we were on a roll. You could just throw darts at a dartboard and make money in the stock market. And then all of a sudden, 2000 rolls along and the S&P drops 10%. Okay, so I'm going to do some quick math here for you. So if it went down 10%, assuming you had $100,000, which a lot of our clients did in the market, that means you dropped to $90,000. Now keep in mind, a lot of people back then weren't retired yet. So they didn't really feel the effects of this loss. I'll get into that in a minute. So, okay, they're down, 10% or whatever, down to 90. Well, the next year, the S&P went down 13%. Well, if you take 13% off 90, what are we talking about there? Almost $15,000. Now you're down to $75,000. I'm just ballparking this, folks. But here we go. 2002, it went down 23%. So that's 75 drops another, let's say roughly 20. So now all of a sudden, after 3 years, your 100,000 is worth roughly 50. And all is well in Mudville if you're still working, because as it always does, the market comes back. But imagine if you were retired during that period of time and needed money. What a disaster And this is why after 2002, basically, for a period of time anyway, I got out of the stock market, just totally got out of it because I was trying to build out this worry-free retirement planning process. And I realized, hey, by having all my clients' money in the stock market, there is no way to predict how much income they'll have in the future because of this wild ride on this roller coaster of the stock market. Fast forward to 2007, 2008, and 2009. The S&P, if you remember that, in 2007 had made back all of the money. All the money you would have lost was made back if you stayed in the market, which a lot of people did not. Then 2008 hits and the S&P drops 38% in 1 year. All right? 38%. So now let's say you finally got back to your original 100,000. We won't get into the time value of money and lost opportunity cost, but at least you're back to 100. Here we go back on the roller coaster. 2008, your 100 now roughly is worth 60. But again, folks, we have to imagine that now you're retired, it's down 40% roughly, and you need income. It's impossible. You can't do that. So if you're a saver and you're like me and you're more concerned about the return of your money than on it, and this is your life savings we're talking about, this is a huge problem if you're retired or nearing retirement. This is why, in most cases, while we still use the stock market today for certain portfolios and certain situations, we would never have somebody 100% in the stock market. Because if you go taking money out of this account when it's down, you're going to run out of money. This is why I created something years ago called the split IRA concept. It's a unique concept to the industry. Actually, more and more advisors are starting to employ similar concepts, but where we have different buckets, and those buckets contain different types of risk. And then in most cases, for most of our clients, one of those buckets we want to make sure contains something I've trademarked called mailbox money. So the mailbox money, folks, is there to make sure you don't run out of money. So while the stock market could bounce around a little bit, we've got to have something secure in the background to know that as you get older and as we spend and enjoy your money, we've got something there that'll make sure you don't run out. So again, the mission of Tony Walker Financial is to help these savers worry less about money. The way we do that is we try to remove variables that we cannot control. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you're feeling out of control with your money and you need an advisor you can sit down in person that knows this world well, who's been doing it a long time and has an experienced staff to help you. That's us at Tony Walker Financial. To take advantage of talking to me by phone, why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that little Talk to Tony button on the homepage, or call us anytime at 877-499-9255.
Worried about running out of money in retirement? Well, stop worrying and learn how mailbox money can keep that from happening. Set up your free phone call with me, Tony Walker, by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Our mission statement moment today comes to us from our own Heather Hughes in our Bowling Green office. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Tony.
And you meet and talk to a ton of people, but I would have to say, if I can kind of force feed this one on you, I had someone call from the old days of the TV show, watched it forever. They lived pretty far away, so they'd driven to the Bowling Green office, and they decided to do business with us. And then, of course, I brought you in because you handle all the new business. But what would you say about where they were and how scattered they were and what was going on in the family? They even had, I think, their daughter with them at the time, but just how well we were able to take care of their needs.
I think comes down to seasons of life. With the case that you were particularly alluding to just now, older couple, unfortunately, one of them was suffering from some dementia, and the other spouse was trying to get everything organized, and she was struggling a little bit, and she did bring her adult daughter with her, and also just trying to get everything together. They had accounts in different places, and it's just a lot to track when you're dealing with a spouse that has an illness and you're getting older and that type of thing. So for them to be able to come to us, and we put all of their accounts under one roof so we can oversee that for them and take that burden off of them, I think is a very powerful tool of something that we can do with a lot of compassion and heart.
Very well said. And even, I think they were, not that you should always bring your children along, but I thought it was interesting they brought their adult child and the connection I think we had with them, and now she understands what they're doing. Some of my concerns, which people trust us a lot with their money, but the adult children, we never meet them. So a lot of times we handle all this money and move it over, and then eventually our clients might pass away. They're seniors, and we finally meet the adult children. So speak to the fact that we're fine if people want to bring their adult children to these meetings to get to know us as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, that's another season I think a lot of us have gone through where you start taking care of your parents. And to know that your parents are being taken care of financially, as far as somebody helping them with their finances, and you trust those people as well, it's, gives the daughter peace of mind as well. It's a nice benefit for them to say, okay, I know where, if anything happens to my parents, I know who I need to speak with. I've met them. I trust them, and know that we would, upon their passing, that we're there for them as well to help with all the claim paperwork and anything that they may need.
So you've worked 30 or 40 years slaving away at work so you can save away money into your 401k, and now you arrive at the biggest financial decision you're ever going to make: where to invest your 401k plan. Think about it. For all these years, you've had a steady paycheck, compliments from your employer for all of your hard work that you dedicated to them. But now, all of a sudden, you've got to figure out how to replace that paycheck with the money you've been saving. No wonder you're worried about what to do and who to trust with that money, which is why we at Tony Walker Financial are providing a brand new free service called the 10-Minute Fiduciary Phone Call. And here's how simple it is to learn more about our services and our 401k rollover process. First, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there, click on the Let's Get Started button. You'll be taken to a page. Confidentially, you can fill out your information on the screen and then click below the best way for us to speak together. It could either be myself or one of our other trained fiduciaries. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Before you make a rash decision and blindly turn your money over to a complete stranger to invest, consider a name and a firm you can trust, Tony Walker Financial. And, oh, by the way, if you like, you can give us a call to speak to us at any time by phone by simply calling 877-499-9255. Well, welcome back, and we are on the road, and we are actually with a Mr. Mark Sturgill, who has recently signed up to work with Tony Walker Financial. So good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Tony. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for being with us. And really just, Mark, we'll start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for a living.
Yeah, Tony, I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, and that's where I was born and raised. And actually, I'm a physician. I'm a radiologist, currently practicing full time.
And Mark, how did you, I forgot to ask you, how did you find out about Tony Walker Financial? I know we recently met and started doing business, but how did you find out about us?
Yeah, well, my interest began from intermittently watching your TV show, the Worry-Free Retirement, over several years.
And what was it about the show or messaging that prompted you and to contact us?
Well, I just liked, when I watched the show, I really enjoyed the fact that you shared your knowledge, giving real life examples, and I really appreciate the concept of the mailbox money principle, with reference to I think that your grandfather working many years at the same job. And I kind of equate to that with my father. I think I spoke in the office about him working 39 years at GE and receiving his pension after that, and then the other thing that really kind of grabbed me was, like, as I told you, I appreciate respected your displaying your faith and sharing a correlate verse from the Bible and discussion at the end of your show.
Well, I appreciate that. So I know we won't go into too much detail, but we had to respond pretty quickly to something you needed to do for tax planning purposes. So that prompted you, I think, to go ahead, and there was a little bit of urgency in getting some things started. But what would you say about the staff here at Tony Walker Financial and how quickly we responded to some needs you had there for tax planning purposes?
Oh, it's been great. The readiness and the professionalism that you and your staff that I've encountered, at least from the time I stepped in the door, if I made phone calls, have been Wonderful. It's definitely very strongly customer service related, and I have a feeling of comfort and confidence whenever I come into the office.
Did you want to add anything else, Mark, before I kind of close it out?
No, I just really appreciate everything you've done so far, and looking forward to working with you and your staff for the years, upcoming years.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark, and we appreciate your business, and you make it a good day.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony.
You're welcome.
This week, Tony reminds us of the importance of passing along the valuable knowledge of managing money. In Chapter 7 of Live Well, Die Broke, teaching financial lessons to the next generation.
Our Live Well, Die Broke chapter I wanted to cover today is Chapter 7, called Teaching Financial Lessons to the Next Generation. You know, as I look back at my childhood, my dad, who I loved him to death, we had a great relationship, but I'll have to admit, he knew nothing about money, never taught me much about money. I just kind of learned as I went. Now, I was influenced a lot by my granddad. My granddad didn't have a lot of money, but he worked for Bell South for 43 years. He watched every penny. He was able to work on cars, do his own stuff. He had a pension. He called it mailbox money. I mean, I was around him a lot, and I realized he never worried about money. So I guess it was intuition. Maybe he was just a little brighter about money than my dad, but he just didn't spend more than was coming in the front door. He knew how to watch his expenses. He kept everything under wraps. Never heard him complain about money. And they were definitely savers. My grandparents were definitely savers. But then, you know, fast forward to 1984, when I actually started with my father-in-law at Billmore Insurance. Actually, I met my father-in-law when I met my wife, Susan, back in high school. So I knew Mr. Moore, it might have been 1976. So I was around him quite a bit. And I noticed as he just kept progressing, he moved to a bigger home, he took over the agency, he bought a condo in Florida. I thought, this guy seems to know something about money that I don't, because I'd never been around anybody that progressively got better with their money and their lifestyle kind of tagged along. So I guess it opened my eyes up that there's another way to look at money. So I decided to start studying under a lot of brilliant minds. I mean, I've spent a lot of time over the years studying under people like Brian Tracy, and through the Strategic Coach program, and through the CLU and the CFP programs I've been through, and Bob Castellone. Just a lot of people and institutions have helped me formulate my understanding of money. Now, as far as my own children go, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I probably was about a 6 in bringing them up to understand money. But I will say I tried to instill in them to work hard, to be responsible, and for that I'm very grateful that they seem to be very good kids. They take care of themselves well. And now that I'm at a point, as we record this in 2026, that I'm financially fairly well off, I want to help them financially, which is where Live Well, Die Broke comes in. You see, years ago, I decided, as I watched people's lives play out, that most people made this huge mistake, and here it is. They waited too long to spend and enjoy their money. I like to call it a window of opportunity to really enjoy your money, and most people don't see it. They don't open that window. They're fearful of running out of money. The insurance world, the financial world, Wall Street tells them you can't spend it because you might live too long. All these scare tactics and these things I call the guilt trip gospel keep people from using and enjoying their money. The second sad thing I saw working in the estate planning arena over the years and seeing a lot of wealthy people is a lot of people died with all of this money. And as I surmised, they basically died broke because they couldn't take it with them. And then they didn't get to watch their kids enjoy it while they were alive. So here's my thought and philosophy on money. I do truly eat my own cooking. In other words, I do what I say I'm going to do and do what I preach. And that's the message of Live Well, Die Broke, is to help young people not only understand money, but if you're retired or aging and you realize you can't take this money with you, maybe test the waters a little bit. Start giving money to your kids and grandkids. See how they use it. Watch how they use it. You might learn something about them, and you might realize that, hey, some of these kids aren't that good with money, which then might lead you to maybe do different things from a estate planning standpoint or how you're going to spend the money. So at Tony Walker Financial, in my 42 years of doing business, I've met with over 20,000 savers. I've worked on retirement planning and estate planning and financial plans for years, and I know this world very well. So maybe that's you. You're retired, nearing retirement. Maybe you've been put on the guilt trip gospel. You're not sure if you can help your kids or should help your kids or grandkids. But you just want somebody that can look at this and honestly tell you what you can do with your money and what you might not want to do with your money. We need to talk. And we made this so easy to do. You just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Talk to Tony button. We'll arrange a free 10-minute call where I'll learn more about you. And if I think I can help, we're going to then meet in person. That's right, you'll be meeting with the owner of the company to go over and discuss our process and provide that free written game plan available to you that only Tony Walker Financial offers. Again, that's TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call us anytime, 877-499-9255.
To learn more about Live Well, Die Broke, visit TonyWalkerFinancial.com. While there, you can listen to the audiobook version absolutely free. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Taking a look at our 5-star reviews at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. I love to scroll through these. And folks, if you haven't seen these, you need to take a look at them. Again, as we always stress, I can't imagine handing over my life savings to any advisor if I were a consumer or a saver without knowing something about them other than maybe a great presentation or a free steak dinner or whatever. But I like this one. This came up the other day. Notice this as I was scrolling through them. It comes from Judy Scott. And this might be you. Listen carefully to what Ms. Scott says about our services. I really didn't think we had enough money to cover us in retirement, but Tony gave us a plan that was better than I could have imagined, and it will provide for us in retirement. Now, let's stop there a minute. Many people are contacting us. Maybe you've been laid off. Maybe you've been offered a buyout. Maybe your company's downsizing. Maybe you're burned out on work and you're just sitting there thinking, man, could I go on and retire? I know I was going to plan on it 65, but I'm only 60, 61. This is right up our alley, folks, and this is what Ms. Scott was talking about. The typical question we get is, Tony, do I have enough to retire? Now, you got to remember, folks, I've been in this business over 40 years. I've met in person with more than 20,000 savers. I've personally orchestrated and overseen more than 5,000 written game plans. So again, think about this, folks. You're getting ready to make one of the biggest financial decisions ever. Who are you going to trust with your life savings? I think you better start doing some research on people, including us, before you just blindly go out there and start turning over your money. But she says he put all of our investments in a spreadsheet, that's our game plan, with a plan on when to draw them down. Now, what she's talking about here is, folks, you got to remember, retirement planning is all about taking money out and using what you've saved. That's the whole point. The problem is most people don't know where to draw that money from. And since we have multiple buckets that we're going to set up, our expertise in tax planning and income planning, we're going to help you figure out where to draw that money from. Okay. She goes on to say, after getting the plan, he put it in a nice binder where we could keep it, keep everything organized. And then she made a comment. She says, he sends a letter each year asking if we need to meet, and we usually do meet with him. That's right, folks. I still meet with all the clients. I'm readily available. I'm not running off anywhere. I'm not trying to grow the practice and running all over God's creation, traveling around golfing and not watching the ship. I'm here daily making sure things happen, and I'm happy to meet with our current customers at any time. Of course, we have 4 other salaried fiduciaries who can do a wonderful job as well, but I do have my finger on the pulse. Okay, and finally, I like this. She says he answers all of our questions, and we never feel rushed. In conclusion, Ms. Scott says our experience with Tony Walker and his other financial planners has been great. Couldn't have asked for more. Well, maybe that's you right now. We're sitting here thinking about having a mission, and now that you know that Tony Walker's mission is to help more and more savers worry less about money, the question is, are you a saver? And secondly, possibly, are you worried about your future? Well, if that's you, let's talk. In fact, we've created something called the Worry-Free Retirement Process. It's a 5-step process to help savers worry less about money, and it begins with a conversation. That's right. You're going to be talking to the owner of the company, and we started off with just a simple phone call. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call where you and I will talk by phone, and if I think I'm going to be able to help you, you and I will meet in person to lay out that free proprietary game plan so that you can have a mission for enjoying more of this money before it's too late. So why don't you take advantage of this free phone call by logging on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Talk to Tony button, or if internet's not your thing or you don't have access to the internet, just call us anytime. That number is 877-499-9255. Well, folks, that's all the time we have today. But you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and you make it a good one.